with an open floor for discussions. Yesterday we left around the yellow cards for you to leave questions. I think Răzvan has the first ones, but before we start reading this, is it any immediate burning question that you may have? Maybe to recap, so we started with session 1, and if there are any questions, maybe for Steve and his colleagues that moderated the day 1, which was a look back into 2022 network situation. I have a feeling we'll go very, very fast. The bus have not changed the timetable of the bus. Probably we can have more coffees outside, but right. Anyway, the session moderators, after we make sure, because I have to pass our master of ceremony, Guido Hasevus, that all of you have met outside. So, you know, he's also the one who tracks your feedback every year. And one of the, I would say, claims or complaints that you had, there is not enough time for discussion. So that's why this open floor discussion today is for interactions and Q&A. But okay, so day 1, the first slot, a look back at 2022 network situation. I see we don't want to dwell further. In the session 2, outlook for 2023, which was the summer 2023 challenges, traffic capacity outlook, main actions taken between NM and all operational stakeholders. Răzvan, are for this session or for the strategic planning or questions that we have?
Yeah, I have 2 questions for the session 2 and another question that I've got orally on the session 3. So
let's do first the session 2, please.
Yeah, so I will start with the session 2, and it will be a common response between me and Stephen. We have a question here about the congestion expected in Europe for the summer season, and if there is any chance for prioritizing the long-haul flights, mainly Europe to Asia, because some aircraft operators might encounter the situation of fatigue risk management system. And this is a very good question. So first of all, especially for the flights to from Asia, in the more strategic preparation of the summer 2023 network measures, what we will clearly exclude from those measures would be the flights to from Asia. There is an additional constraint today on these flights, as a large number of airlines do not use today the Russian airspace. And it is very important to take this in mind, because the flying time for those flights has increased considerably. So those flights will not be subject to network measures. They will be allowed to operate on their most preferred trajectories. But in addition to that, in the NMOC, we have other opportunities to prioritize flights when you know that those flights are really critical, and Stephen will respond to that.
Thank you, Răzvan. Indeed, we do. Through the use of the help desk, we have the critical flight functionality. And when an operator elects that they would like to use one of their quota of critical flights to indicate a flight is critical through the help desk, it'll then be exempted from the e-help desk manual rules, which means that our colleagues in the ops room here will do everything they can to reduce the delay encountered for that flight. And if you need more information on that, we're just about to republish our All Together Now work that indicates to all stakeholders in the network how they can best utilize the systems in the tactical and pre-tactical phases. And I'll only be too pleased afterwards to give more information for anyone who'd like it. Thank you.
Thank you, both of you. Răzvan, any follow-up or next question?
Yeah, and just to say that those flights are subject to ATFM measures only when departing from Europe. When you come to Europe, you're not subject to ATFM measures. But from the strategic rerouting measures that we will take, those flights will not be part of. And then in the more tactical phase, the help could be provided through the NMOC, as explained. Then we have another question concerning our possibility to use an awarding or promoting process to airlines with less delays during the year, And the same applies to airports to motivate companies to be more, to operate more punctually. I'm afraid that this is a very complex package. This is not really related just to the airlines. This is related to the overall ATM environment, and of course, such a wording cannot be put in place. But again, through the leaflet that and all the presentation that you have seen during those 2 days, we encourage airports, airlines, etc., to do their best to reduce all the other delays than the ATFM delays, and then we will take care of that. But again, for flights who are really critical, just use the functionality that Stephen just mentioned. So this was all for the session 2, preparation of summer 2023. I don't know if there are any other questions from the floor.
Jean-Marc, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chair. Jean-Marc Flon, Groupe Aéroport de Paris. I wanted to make a comment, and I have a request, actually. First of all, on the comment, we've seen that on summer 22, there was a focus on airports and ground delay. We understand it was a difficult summer. However, I think the picture is not as clear as it was presented, because resources in airports are planned according to a program, and it's not because an aircraft arrives on time and departs with delay that it is to be assessed as a ground delay. The resources are perhaps mobilized by other aircraft which arrive late due to the network. And so this is a more complex issue, I would say. I would say that airports are a complex jigsaw and with many pieces of puzzle, and they have to fit all together. So now my request, actually, in preparation for summer 23, I would like, once you have defined the measures of the network, to better identify and discuss with airports where would be the bottlenecks, what we have to prepare in terms of constraints, so that we can better plan our resources, because this is paramount, that planning of resources according to the delay, to ensure that we have the enough buffers. This is all. Thank you for me.
Thank you, Jean-Marc. Stephen?
Thank you indeed, Jean-Marc, and it's a very good point, well made. I would just contest slightly a little bit that all stakeholders are in the focus area, not just the airports, but perhaps this time looking at this black box of airport ground delay, which is not to, as Vincent said, make it the airport fault, but just this arrival departure part of the sequence of a gate-to-gate flight. But all stakeholders are there. But the point is well made, and as you know, the team, Vincent and the team, have made an offering to come down to ADP, particularly to go into much more detail with you. So thank you for that feedback. With regard to the measures for next summer, of course, working in close collaboration with Razvan and our ACD colleagues, Network Ops Management will also remain fully supportive, and indeed, again, the airport team, and I'll make sure Vincent does it particularly for all airports, not just ADP, of course, are in touch to understand exactly your feedback on those measures. So thank you.
Thank you, Razvan. Stephen, Razvan has a completation.
I think also very important here, Jacopo mentioned it in his opening speech. We are preparing the weekly rolling network operations plan every single week, and the issues expected for the next week or weeks are being presented weekly every Monday afternoon in the Enlarged Network Director of Operations teleconference. For this summer season, the intention is to highlight even more the problematic areas, which would be the network impact of those problematic areas, and try to draw the attention where they might impact, which areas of the network they might be impacted, but also a better follow-up will be put in place with the suggestions that are being made for improvement in the context of the weekly rolling knob, and how actually the concerned NSPs or airports have implemented these things, and do a very close follow-up of that. Right now we are in a calmer phase, I would say, but as soon as we will hit the switch to the summer schedules, this will become fundamental, and the The ATFM strategic colleagues, together with the post-ops colleagues, will work together in providing this and in making this follow-up very transparent. But the follow-up in itself will not be sufficient. We need the feedback and we need the action implemented from the concerned parties, I would say. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, and thank you to Jean-Marc for this point. Anything else on the session 2 outlook for 2023? Okay, so then we move to the session 3 of day 1, which was strategic planning, implementing the network strategy planning. Razvan, I think you have already one question on it.
Yeah, I had a question during one of the breaks on some parts of the presentation on the network strategic projects and how we are fulfilling the CP1 requirements. And I found this question very important to clarify all misunderstanding that this could raise. I have stated clearly that since 2021, NM is fully SWIM compliant, fulfilling all the CP1 requirements based on what the existing legislation and standards require for the implementation of SWIM. That makes your life a little bit easier, because through our compliance, you can become compliant much easier also. The question was in relation to INM. The fact that we are implementing INM does not change anything to this particular status. The INM will take over all the existing functionalities, compliances, etc. The fact that we are implementing INM does not change anything to this full SWIM compliance that has been fully achieved already since 2021. Just to be clear for everybody, it's not that because we are developing INM, we will go back and we will not be SWIM compliant anymore. We will remain fully SWIM compliant.
Thank you, Razvan. Anything on the strategic planning and network strategy plan? There were interesting discussion, I think, on 4D trajectory, TBO CONOPSIS, FFIs, CP1. Anything else that you may wish to raise with the team? Okay, then in that case, we move to day 2, session 1, and that was on INM and the NM's digital journey. Any questions? The team is here still in the room. Any last thoughts, view, reactions to what you have seen is coming, and it's coming fast. We have these 2 dates that we have started to socialize with you. So 29th of November 2024 and 15th of May 2025. I see none. Then we move to Paul session with the European ATM infrastructure. Any questions remaining? Yes, the one I wanted to start from there because you defer to the question in the lunch break, but I think the topic is very important and interesting on cyber security and harmonization. Please.
We gave our discussion. We discussed with Nikos and the colleague at the cybersecurity. It was given some good approaches, but I want to contribute to your community to 2 other things. As you are having a problem with the 5G, which is also a problem of the citizens in the environmental and human health issues, which hasn't been resolved yet. It is proposed that you can send a delegation or a representative to the 6G, which the Commission has already started. We have a group discussing the 6G, the next standard. So maybe there we can resolve the issues which we have for all the sectors which are arguing with the 5G. And the second, I would like to propose for the harmonization purposes. Next week we have for the cybersecurity, we have the conference for the standards of ENISA, Sensenelec and ETSI. It would be very nice if your community also could send a representative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this. We'll take duly note and we'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I see no further questions. May I then kindly invite every rapporteur or moderator of the session? I think we capture just a few bullet points on every of the session. So and together with the all presentations, give us by Monday afternoon, and we will upload. We will still have to clean, especially the ones on cybersecurity that we cannot share. But we will add these summaries, and then by lunchtime also you will receive an email that okay, the things have been uploaded, but also you receive a QR code for a feedback form to give us what you would like us to improve, what you liked it, what you don't, and so on. But Stephen, can I please start with you of the summary of the first session?
For sure. Not only did we start with the first session, but we get the delightful pleasure of reviewing a session that reviewed a year that we will live through. We had 83% of the delay, 83% of the traffic reference to 2019, and we're not going to refer to 2019 again after the end of this meeting. We're going to make comparisons going forward against last year, 22. We highlighted through some of the overviews, the efforts made by the colleagues in the operations division, the NMOC and the airport unit, particularly in support of the network, and from the post-operations analysis. But also importantly, we listened to our stakeholders and we listened to you, and we tried the panel approach for hearing from our stakeholders. And that was really important. So we had the statistical overlook. We heard from the stakeholders around the lack of stability across all of the stakeholder groups, but raised initially from the airport area was a real issue in 2022. And that predictability across the network was variable, but the information that was shared through the rolling knot process every week was very helpful and helped reduce, certainly in the shorter time, that unpredictability. We heard with a challenging question almost right at the end around how difficult it was to make improvements beyond where we already are as a network and as the stakeholders in the network with regard to sustainability. But taking that network approach with a fully collaborative agreement and approach across all the stakeholders was appreciated, especially in the year after the recovery from COVID pandemic. And that finally the efforts from across the whole of the network manager were appreciated, but that we indeed could and should do more in the future. At which point we had our lunch, and then it's back to you, Tony, for the review going forwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. We'll pause a few seconds to see if there's any further reaction to that. Yes, please.
Just one statement. As everybody know that over Poland we got a huge military activity, but together with network manager, together with our FMP staff, we are trying to minimize the restriction, the delays. Of course, we are not able to give you the shortest route of reduction on CO2, but we'll focus on delays. And of course, it also depends on our cooperation with military side. Thank you so much.
Thank you indeed. I don't need to respond as a statement, but it's a really good point as well. And I perhaps should have mentioned right at the start, the stakeholders were really clear in that first session that, you know what, we could look at it as a glass half empty, or we could look at it as a glass half full year. And I think that's a really important piece to just summarize the summary with. Thank you, Tony, back to you.
Thank you. The engineers will say that glass is not well designed. Right. Anything further to Stephen? Right. If not, I move to Răzvan to summarize the session 2, please.
Thank you, Tony. In the session 2, we have looked together on the preparations of the summer 2023. And I would like to underline again that the result of what has been done until now comes from the work done by tens of thousands of people in the network manager. And this is the good thing, that we managed to partner together during very, very complex times and try to provide a better view and a better performance for the summer 2023. In one of the remarks that I had yesterday, during discussions was the delay forecast for the year 2023 in the previous edition of the network operations plan was 2.54 minutes per flight. Now it's 1.71 minutes per flight. What generated this good improvement? And I would say this good improvement was generated by the lot of work that has been done around the network in the meantime, and notably in the areas that I was mentioning yesterday: France, Germany, France, Greece, Cyprus, etc. Germany also a better plan than that we had before. So this is the result of all this good work. But the challenges, yesterday we have acknowledged the challenges of the summer 2023. It will be a very high traffic growth, up to 15%. It will be a less available airspace because we are missing a huge part of the airspace as a result of the Russian aggression in Ukraine. But at the same time, there will be more intense military activity. The more intense military activity will continue. So it will not only be this airspace where there is no access today, there will be other volumes of airspace that will require very thorough coordination, and we are really working on that. I'm very happy that the result of the yesterday's discussion generated some exchanges over yesterday and today, and even better arrangements are being now put in place to prepare all this. So full acknowledgement and congratulations for the excellent work that that we all put together. Recalling that on the 23rd of February, we have the meeting on the preparation of the summer measures, that all the measures are fully supported by all the participants. And again, we have to note the excellent preparation of a large number of ANSPs and airports in this context of the summer 2023. So Tony, back to you, if there are any further questions on the summer part. You know what is good with the network operations plan? The summer always comes earlier to us, because when you make the 6 weeks outlook, you are already in the summer. We were just realizing now, actually we are getting now into the airline summer schedules. So summer is coming. So next week we will look into the airline summer schedule. So it's good news. Summer comes earlier, Christmas comes earlier. So it's always a good thing.
The floor is open for any further reactions. Seems that we're all looking for the summer season. I see none. I think, Răzvan, we move on to the next points.
In the session 3, we have discussed more strategic developments, but we wanted to make this very practical, and we were focusing on the good implementation of the network strategic projects, what has been done until now, and what is in the pipeline for quick delivery in the spring of 2023 with respect to the to improvements that were very much wanted by the community of the operational stakeholders, and I'm not going to go back to them, but they call for better air traffic flow management, improvements in flight efficiency support, etc. And this was very nicely complemented and confirmed through the presentation that we've heard this morning from our colleague Atice, who is our NM release program manager. Not only release 27, she was the program manager of many other releases, and the exceptional work that has been done to achieve all these significant improvements and our compliance with CP1. We have introduced to you how we are going to work on the developments of the future network operational concepts, introduce the network operational concept, but also the fact that we are developing domains concepts for the 4D trajectory, ASM, ATFM, the data layer, and the fact that these concepts will also serve as future requirements for our INM system. At the end of yesterday, we have all acknowledged the big challenge that we have in front of us with the implementation of the FFIs by December 2025 in a very good and close partnership effort between the CESAR deployment manager and the network manager. And the fact that we will start discussing the possibility of putting in place implementation support initiative for FFIs and that this will be discussed in a common session of the network directors of operations and of the network technical directors on 1st of March, and we will take it from there based on the decisions that will be made there. Back to you, Tony, if there are any questions.
Thank you, Razvan. The floor is open. Any questions, comments, observations to Razvan and the team? You must have, guys, did we put something, anything specific in the coffee and the food? And
Remove something from the coffee.
so, right, then we move to the first session of today, which was on INM and NM's digital journey. You have seen an introduction first by Sil, the guy who is the INM program manager, laying the foundation. Then we have got the first golden nuggets of the last release, which is a huge release from Hatice. So we invite you there to go and see, because she, in a couple of slides, she could not have been given justice to all the developments. So I'll come back on the dates of the release 27. Then we have seen from Matis the way how we are finalizing the building, how fast and how nice will look. So we hope for sure we will operate from the next autumn in there, in de-risking the exercise with EASA, first moving with the legacy and then starting building the digital platform, digital products and the replatforming of the crown jewelries, IFPS and ETFMS. So in the nutshell, we do this INM as part of the new normal to ensure digital transformation and remove the system obsolescence. You've seen the digital platform technical layer to enable developments, deployment, hosting, ops and governance. And then Ralph Terrain, the business project manager, went through all the waves details. I'll just summarize wave one, initial IDL. And this IDL, we understand the integrated data layer. For us, all the aeronautical information being that, you know, the dynamic, the static, the EAD, the CACD is the initial part, because in wave one, we come with the EAD. And it's also, we are preparing for future integration with the CACD, but also for the early adopters, we bring digital NOTAM. In wave two, the partial IDL, further integration. The replatform, very important to ensure that IFPS and ETFMS will be robust enough for the years to come. The dynamic network plan and crisis management and the NM UI. And then the future, wave three, beyond May 2025, the full integration on the integrated data layer. So we will have one single system. So by then, we will start forgetting a couple of acronyms like EAD and CACD. So airspace management, network performance with performance increase simulations and network impact, one integrated flight and flow, the future evolution of the NMUI and data services where we bring the machine learning and artificial intelligence. And I'm concluding for that session with significant milestones approaching. 27 April to 2nd of May this year, the last NM release. Of course, there were other important dates that Hatice mentioned when you start the operational testing, and you had links to the release notes and on all the details. 31st of October, the night from 30 to 31st of October 2023, the new ops center. By the way, by then we will have a name for that building. Actually, will be sooner than that. We are having a competition to the name of that building. Then 29th of November 2024, shadow operations for the INM, and from 15th of May 2025, start of operations with the first digital product of INM, the EAD. I stop here as a summary. Any last further opportunity to ask questions or comment on that? Yes, please, DFS.
Yes, we have a question or basically a comment. As the last NM release is 27.0 coming in spring this year, and based on the presentation you just reviewed, the first two waves will be basically just the transformation of the current platform to the new platform. We, especially as operators, are sometimes a little bit afraid that there will be no operational improvements during this time and just a data transfer. So those CRs which have been taken out of 25, 26 and 27 due to capacity, when can we expect those changes, especially in regard to ASM, flexible use of airspace and stuff like that, see in the new INM? So when do we see operational improvements instead of just having the platform transformed? When will be the first operational INM improvement?
We have big CRs on airspace management, flexible use of airspace already in release 27, which I think will cover the points that you just mentioned. But for after that, we have a 2 years freeze. So I think Răzvan, it calls the long stagnation, but we need that because if you allow me an allegoric parallel, a metaphor is that we are trying to transform a 747-400 in a 777 new generation while we are flying. From 4 engines to go on 2 modern engines, and we can't stop the machinery or we can't land. So it's very difficult to allow modifications when we need to freeze the baseline on which we will be transforming. So yeah, I'll give to Răzvan further on the specific CRs, which to me, I think we have them in the release 27.
Yeah, there is a significant number of changes for airspace management, for NConnect that will come in the release 27. By the way, the release notes for release 27 have just been published today. I've been through them last evening, approved, and they have been published today. So you will see all the details there. I would like more to refer to what I have said this morning. I think it was a question from one of our French colleagues about when all this is going to start. In the coming weeks, we will have a discussion about this transition period, and we will come back to you by when new developments will be possible to be done. I think the tricky thing in all this will be the nature of the developments. I think we might be a little bit more at ease doing some developments that do not have a back-end impact. That we will need to see. But there will be a 2 years freeze with no major functionalities developments, and we are in 2023. We hope that as from, I should rather say, probably the spring of 2026, we would be able again to have new developments. It's a 2 years period of transition, but you have to understand also that there is a period of defining the requirements, seeing exactly how the new system is. So most probably, as from 2026, some new functionalities will be possible to be implemented. But in the course of this year, we will come back to you on that. First of all, to start with the user interfaces, and that includes also the RAD that NConnect and the further evolutions that will be done there. And we will try to bring this clarification. As I've said, also there is a request from a number of ANSP CEOs to start the development of new tools, new functionalities in support of the ANSPs, and this is why we want to bring this clarity very quickly, so that to continue the work, because first of all, we need your inputs in how the rest will be done. We have already a lot of that. The backlog that is there from the network strategic projects is sufficient for a 1 year of developments, I would say, Tony. So we are fine with that. The requirements are there. They have not been forgotten, and they will be put in with the first opportunity. But let's say, as from 2026, gradually we will start having new, more important functionalities coming in the system.
Yes, and to finalize on this, we need these new different technologies, and we hope after that we can have exponential developments, and whoever would like to have an idea and have access to the data, you develop a digital product that then you can put it on the platform. So, but before arriving to that stage, allow us to change the technologies and provide you the environment that allow us to do other interesting stuff.
And to be honest, Robert, some of the developments that we wanted to have and that are a little bit in the backlog, more we were remaining with the current system, more complex and more resources were required to find workarounds to implement them. With the new INM system, the speed of the development, first of all, the approach will be different, but also due to the new technology, the expectation is that the speed of development would be much, much better than what we had until now, because until now, the workarounds that we have to do in order to implement what you wanted to see there started to be quite significant. And I give you an example on some of the ASM developments, for instance, when we were looking together with our developers into it, and poor Adice was always between the two forces, I would say. We were getting estimations between 50 to 100 man weeks for a change request, knowing that the total amount of development effort in a release was around 700 to 800 man weeks available for development. So if for one change request in a release, you are getting up to 100 man weeks effort of development, you can imagine that this was eating basically all the rest. And we could not continue like that. It would have been impossible. We would have reached a pure blockage very quickly. So it is the time to take a little bit of a breeze and then continue the work on making the requirements, on developing the requirements will not stop, and then implement them much faster than we could do it until now.
Thank you, Razvan. Thank you, Robert, for the question. Looking into the room. So, Paul, we move to the last session, yours, on the CNS infrastructure,
Yeah.
European ATM infrastructure.
Yeah, indeed.
Please.
Thank you, Tony. If there's one thing you will remember, I hope you will remember from our session, that it will have to be about data link. Yeah, data link provides true operational efficiency, safety, and other benefits, capacity. So please, let's all do whatever we can to further accelerate its uptake. I think through Nikos and Wizz Air's presentation, you saw that in more and more areas of Europe, it really starts to work. In the case of Wizz Air, it even starts to work for a complete fleet, and really they're not one of the smallest airlines in Europe. So again, please do whatever you can to further benefit from data link, and we're at your full support for any question, any support that you may require on the topic. The rest of the session was basically to scare you. I think we succeeded at listening as well to the questions and the conversations during the lunch on this. The good news, though, about the scare is that we're all in this together. And I think we saw through the different presentations and as well through the external stakeholders, Jürgen from Skyguide and Eric, Skyguide from Skies, and Eric from Aéroport de Paris, that there is true competence in there. Yeah, it's engineering competence. Yeah, we go into the bits and the bytes, but there's true competence around in Europe to keep us safe. And I think what we need to do is work even more together to keep us safe also in the future. The 1030, 1090 problem, again, it's not likely to go away anytime soon, or we need to start switching off a couple of radars, and that will require some serious discussions amongst all of us together in Europe. The interference on GNSS and 5G, Gary, yeah, I remember, and 5G, yeah, is again a real one, again a very tricky one to solve, and we really hope that you took at heart our recommendation that you speak to your radio frequency people in your national countries, etc. Try to get further attention up to the level of ITU where possible. And again, we're here to help anybody on this journey. And then the last thing on cyber, you may not have understood everything, but what we do hope is that you've understood that the threat is real, and that again, there are very competent people working on it, but we need much more. And one solution to this is the common procurement, but it's just one of many, many solutions. And please all take this cybersecurity threat very serious, because it is our full belief that one day or another, in a not too far away future, we're going to have a serious impact somewhere in European ATM. So please hope it's not going to happen, but when it happens, let's be ready for it and deal with it in the best possible way. That is, I think, it from our side.
Thank you, Paul. Floor is open for any last remark, comments, views. Back to Paul. Yes.
Yes, on the CPDLC topic, the feedback that we get from pilots on our side is that they, in most cases, still have to connect via voice as well to confirm that they are logged on CPDLC. Will this issue be solved, and how will this be solved? That's a big question.
Well, I think a lot of it is about starting to trust the system more. I think we come from a time where for quite a long period of time, we couldn't fully trust it. The technical performance, the delays, the provider aborts, etc., created confusion in our heads whether we could truly trust it. I think it's really improving. Our monthly, weekly statistics are demonstrating this. And I think it is also a matter of just trying it out and really start using the system further. But I'm also referring to Nikos, who certainly would like to come in on this as well.
So thank you, Paul. So I think that's a very good message, and I mentioned the harmonization there. So this is where we need the input also from the pilot community to see what they need to change. But with this process of harmonizing the operations on the European side, to have the uniform experience for the pilot when it flies from the north to the south and east to west, that will be an opportunity to change all things that they are not really needed and can make detailing more efficient. So we can, that's a plea. We're having a detailing group meeting in March. The input of the airspace users is limited in these groups. So we really would like to see the information on the experience, the problems that the airspace users are having. So let's discuss, and in a month's time, being also in Brussels, that will not be very easy to travel maybe. So that can be something that we can come and bring your experience, your requests to the community.
Nikos, Paul, thank you very much. Okay, I think that's it. We're at the end.